Clock on the dot. Approval of the minutes of July 20th, 2020. No, July 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here last month.
Oh, you didn't say abstain.
Yeah, thank you for telling me.
Yes, speak it up. See how rested I am being semi-retired.
Did you put, yeah.
Is that better? Yes.
It wasn't you, it was the button.
It wasn't me. I'm going to tell his dad. Into appearance of interested citizens. Leah Garcia, I think.
No, put your glasses on.
Lisa.
Gotcha.
They were on, they just weren't in front of my eyes.
Yes. Well, and I like the not trying the last name.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Lisa Sajaka. I'm a Keizer resident. I've lived here for 15 years now. I go to Keizer City Parks every day. I walk by 3 of them on my way to Keizer Rapids, and this last month I had an exceptional encounter, basically. I found that the boat ramp somebody had broken out a big old piece of the composite. So I took a picture and I was walking around and I found an employee who was doing stuff, and his name is Julio. He loves his job. He was so excited to be working for Keizer Parks. He was probably the most helpful employee I've met anywhere. And he told me who to contact. He told me how to look up the email address. He told me, and the next morning, the boat ramp was fixed. And it's just so nice to have people. I mean, I've never had a bad encounter with any of the parks employees, but to have people who so obviously love their jobs, it's just really nice to see. So I just wanted to tell you guys so it gets on the record, and Julio, he's a rock star. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And if Robert was here, I would ask about Julio, because I'm assuming he's a tenured staff member, or is he new?
He's a temporary, actually. Is your microphone on?
Yes, I
Okay,
believe it
you
is.
might want to pull it closer. Yes, he's one of the temporaries.
That was just recently hired? Awesome.
Yes.
He's so happy to do this. And he talks to people, but he doesn't stop working while he's talking to people.
Nice.
And, you know, so it's a fine line when you're an employee. So,
Any other interested citizens? Our garden specialist just here to watch today? Okay. Yes, come on up forward. Tell us who you are and where you live.
Would you like me to pass these out to you?
Sure.
Well, pass them out. Hi, my name is William Elder.
I'm sorry?
You got my name Elder?
Okay. Well, you've been here before, haven't you?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. I'm from Troop 20, the Boy Scouts in America. And I'm here to talk to you guys about the Gazebo Project.
Nice. Thank you.
Sorry, you guys can share.
That's fine.
So Blaine, you were back here February timeframe, if I remember right?
Yes, that's right. And I came with the guys to go over the cost and funding for this project. So, for the funding of this project, the whole project cost is going to cost us about $626.24. Though I was hoping to round it up to $650, just in case we missed anything and we'd have a little bit of extra money to spare. Any questions?
So Blaine, talk to us a little bit, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, sorry. So the Gazebo Project, this is something you came to us back in February about, right?
Yes.
And you want to do this as your Eagle project.
Yep.
The expectation, if I recall, is that you're basically going to be doing some preventative maintenance, but also some sort of sprucing up of the gazebo, including scraping down the rust, painting it, and all that kind of stuff, correct?
Yep, that's exactly
Okay.
it.
So have you put your application in for the grant yet?
No, I need to get funding before I can take this to the BSA
Okay.
and
So,
get this approved.
Well, but you need, there's on our website, there's the youth grant program, an application there, and that's where you go, you fill that application out to get the funding from this, or from the Parks Board.
Okay.
Okay, and I can send you that link if you would like. It's on our website, though. It's easy to do.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
and I think if you don't have my number still, I think I've emailed you. If not, get a hold of Counselor Kohler. He's got my number. I can help you with the application a little bit. It's fairly simple. In fact, you've outlaid most of it here. But the application is necessary, and you got to get it in at least 2 weeks prior to the actual meeting. When are you going to try to get this project done?
I was hoping to start this project by the last week of August or the first week of September.
We're not having a meeting next month.
No, we're not.
Can we have an action item on that, on September?
Oh, we're having a parks tour.
We're having the Parks Tour, but we have done an action. We have held a meeting before the
Yes.
Parks Tour. We did that one year for
Right.
another grant. I think it was for the volleyball court or something in
Right.
Keizer Park. So we could do something like that if we need to.
Yes,
That
I
would
was
still
about to
be-
say,
That
we've
would
done it
still be-
before.
And the other thing I'm thinking is that, let me look and see what all is on these forms. I've got them right here.
David, I've got a question.
What? What do you want to ask? Go ahead.
Blaine, I've got a question for you. Many of our parks have gazebos. Can you refresh my memory and tell me which park you're referring to?
Just the one outside, that big gazebo.
Okay, Chalmers Jones. Okay, is that right? Chalmers Jones?
Yeah, it's the big one right out here. So there's two on
Yeah.
this property. There's one at the Heritage Center, and then there's the one over there at Chalmers Jones.
Big one with the concerts. I was just commenting how that needed painting last meeting.
If I may, this was, since this was brought up, and you've been working with Robert, am I right? I think what we could do, the Parks Board, it would be a walk-on thing. We would have to suspend the rules like the council does because this wasn't on the agenda. But we could approve this with the caveat that he still has to fill out the application so that we have that paperwork. But everything, he's got everything right here. The application is basically just going to be totals. So
Okay.
the Parks Board probably, since there is a time frame there and the painting of, that's kind of something you want to do before the rainy season starts. So it could be that maybe, I think it might be okay to do that.
So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to suspend the rules to include an action item for a grant application for Blaine Elder, with the caveat that, I should just motion to suspend the rules to consider this application.
A motion to suspend the rules for this application.
Denied.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Denied.
Mike seconded.
Second.
Oh, I didn't see you way over there. Oh, there you are. All right. Any discussion?
Denied. Denied. I want to talk about the homeless.
Let's move forward. Go ahead.
All right,
David.
I am. Okay, so no discussion. All those in favor to suspend the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion to suspend the rules is passed. So now we go on to vote for, how much are you asking for?
I'm asking for $650.
$650.
For what?
So, any questions or discussion on the,
Don't look at me. They fucking, that child molesters live here for free.
anyway,
Don't look at me.
Any discussion?
Child molesters, you're free room and board, right here in Keizer, Oregon.
Why don't you call cops? See if somebody-
They already know
Maybe
me.
Dylan.
Oh, Dylan
Oh,
is, never
Dylan's
mind.
already doing it. Okay, so we're just going to take a slight recess here for a second
Okay. let's
pretty
just-
because
yeah.
Dylan isn't here.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep, we'll
That's a
just
good
wait.
idea.
Yeah, we have two members that
I won't.
So how many scouts are you going to take?
I'm a part
Tell
of the
him.
community. I am a part of this community, and I don't fucking.
One question I
I'll
have.
tell him. I'm going to over at his house tomorrow.
One question I have is how will the
Well,
funding?
hold on, Blaine, we're in recess right this second, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
I was just trying to kill time.
Child molesters get free room and board right here in Keizer, Oregon. Child molesters. Do you guys endorse that? Sorry.
No, you handle the situation well. All right. So, do we have any discussion of the grant?
I think there was a couple questions somebody had, I don't remember who it was.
Or did we get lost? So you're gonna paint the gazebo, and you need $650, and you plan to do it when?
Hopefully at the end of August or the first week of September.
Do it before the fair, because it'll rain.
Sorry, can you bring me up to speed? I was a little distracted.
Okay,
So did the motion get approved?
Yes.
To suspend the rules?
Great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry, he was
we
yelling
would still need a
denied.
motion to approve the application, but this was
With
just
the
to suspend the
contingency,
rules.
Yes, so now we're discussing the motion to approve the application.
Thank you.
I
So-
think that's where we are, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll put a motion on the table to approve the $650 for the Gazebo Project under the Youth Grant Program with the caveat that he needs to submit a completed application by, Debbie, do you want a date on that?
Can you do it by the end of the week?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, by the end of this week, which would be the 14th.
Sounds great.
Can we have a motion to approve with the caveat of the application needs to be filed by the end of the week, the 14th?
I'll second that.
And second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Lane, do you have an email address?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an email address?
I can give you my mother's.
Okay, so then I can email the application to you. If you would come and you could take this back to your mom and have her write it down, or you can write it down, but I'll need that so I can send you the application, okay?
Debbie, remind me if you might, that it needs for the youth grant, they need a sponsor, whether a counselor or Parks Board member, right?
Yes.
Project director, email, type of project. I don't see anything that says they need a
I do
sponsor.
believe it requires
I thought that was
An
something that we
advisor.
discussed at one point.
for the youth people. If it comes out of the youth grants.
Yeah, it comes, okay, but, okay. I have the one here from Palmer Snap, and it doesn't have anything on there. I mean, I know that he worked with Peggy and Jerry Moore.
Right.
So,
Well, if it comes up, you need a sponsor, you can either talk to Counselor Kohler or any of us up here, and I'm sure one of us would be happy to work with you, so.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. This has been a great help.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being so thorough. This is awesome, and probably the only reason why you got that rule bent, so nice work.
And the gazebo's gonna look awesome at the end of it, which is just like the coolest part.
Yeah.
It's gonna look amazing. Well, thank you again.
Okay, any other interested citizens? All right, we have a letter from an interested citizen from Carol Dorf.
What does Carol Dorfler have to say?
Okay, Carol Durfler wrote us a letter. Parks Board member and staff, I'm unable to join you this evening. However, after watching last Park Board meeting, I am urging you to make as a priority the filling of the ditches beside the new asphalt paths in our parks. And priority should go to those neighborhood parks that are heavily used. I understand that we are short-handed in beginning of the season. However, there are 3 new employees who could be put to work filling those ditches before there is another person tripping or falling or wheelchairs slipping off the edge and a disabled already person being thrown to the ground. On another note, West Keizer Neighborhood Association would like to thank you all for the beautiful tennis and pickleball courts at Willamette Manor Park. They are used every single day according to neighbors that live in the homes bordering the park. Thank you for your time. Carol Durfler, President, West Keizer Neighborhood Association.
Didn't Robert respond to that email?
If we go on with the agenda, there are some, Robert has responded to that, yes, in his staff report.
Actually, I'm sorry, I'm looking.
Should we read his staff report now?
No, I think we should wait, but yeah, part of that has been addressed in the staff report, but the rest of it, that's similar to an email she sent last month. And she's talking about all parks. So Robert's staff report only addresses Country Glen. But it will be noted in the minutes, and Robert will be responding to it.
Thank you, Debbie. Class September Park Tour, staff recommendation. This staff has a recommendation. I know
This was based off of last year's, wasn't it?
Well, it is similar
he
to
wanted to
last
go
year's,
to
but it's-
Willamette Manor Park too, to show off this pickleball, the tennis.
It's on
court.
there, yeah. So it's similar. Last year, I think we had, we had two different tours, both of which were canceled, and they had variants on which parks. But Robert wanted to do Carlson Skate Park, but that wasn't on the list last year because it wasn't done yet. Now it's done, he'd like to show that off. And Willamette Manor, same thing. For the sports court, Wallace House Park, the council has requested that because they want to see the mowing that was done. And Northview, I think there's a sports court there too. The one that was left off was Claggett, which is one that we had thought about, but he wants to wait and do that next year because it's in the works, the playground is in the works. And so next year when we have the tour, we will not only see the new playground, but we'll be able to see the basketball courts and the other improvements that have already been made. So that's his recommendation, those four.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept Robert's recommendations? Yes, Clint, you,
No, I'll make the motion.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to accept Robert's recommendations on the park tour. Any discussion?
I just think this is a good opportunity to really look at, as Debbie mentioned, all of the different types of projects we've done in the last 18 months. And the council getting to see what's actually been done at Carlson Skate Park and actually watch it as it's being used, I think is going to be a big hit. I know many of them have been by it and they've seen it in action, but getting out there and actually getting to talk to some of these users is going to be really important. So I think that's a great one to include on this one, so.
Any other discussion?
If I was going to pick the parks, without knowing these already, these are the ones I would have picked. The only exception might be that I would try to find one that we were attempting to like have work done on soon, like Claggett maybe, but we've really nailed a lot of the big marks we wanted to hit in the last couple of years. So it's getting a lot harder to like find the nitpicky things to look at and go, well, here's what we can improve next year, because we've done a lot of that. So
Isn't that terrible?
I know.
That 3 to 5 year plan has happened quite a bit faster than I think any of us could have anticipated.
I'm very happy about it.
If you've been on the Parks Board as long as I have, and we were struggling and dumping whatever money we had into something just to get it sort of useful, this is marvelous. Okay. All those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Recommendations are approved. Now, this Parks Tour will be the Monday directly before our Parks Board meeting. And we usually cancel the Parks Board meeting because we have enough meetings to go to already. So,
So what's that date?
I think it's on here.
Right.
oh,
Very
it's not on here.
September
Yeah,
14th.
it's on the bottom.
Right here, September
Okay,
14th.
September 14th. Yes. So,
Obviously, we're gonna read that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Boy Scouts.
Thank you, guys.
so we need a motion to cancel September 8th Parks Board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to cancel the Parks Board meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion to cancel the September 8th meeting passes unanimously. Selection of, we need a selection of a Parks Board member to be on the panel that will grade Keizer Parks Master Plan Update Contractor Proposals. I nominate me, because I'm retired.
So this is the RFP process, right?
It is, yeah, it'll just be one day or afternoon after they get their, the RFP closes on September 4th. So it will be a few days after that they will want to get together with a member of the Parks Board and other people that I don't know who all they're including, but to grade the proposals that came in.
Matt, you'd be good on that committee.
I don't have the time.
No? Okay.
I think David, who has done these kinds of proposals before and is retired, has nominated himself.
Oh, okay.
And any of the, I mean, kind of part of the challenge with this is you're dealing with a public request for proposal process. There's a lot of nuances that go into it. It's kind of it's one of those things you've never done before. You don't want to try it on a big contract like this. So, or you do, but I've done hundreds of them and I can't stand them personally. Because you read a lot.
I have to put my glasses on again.
That's right. It's a good process, though. I mean, it really gets to the best possible qualified people that submit proposals. So it can be a lot of fun, and it can be very, very challenging. Sometimes coming between one and two little details on who gets selected. So it's a good process.
Do you need a motion?
I guess.
Do we need a motion on that?
No, I think
Okay,
you can do it by, if everybody if it's a consensus of everybody to let David do it, then we'll just let it go. Okay?
You got the sucker straw.
There's only one.
He asked for it.
Done.
Thank you, David.
Really, I'm the logical one since I'm retired mostly.
Logical?
There is no logic, I know. Got that one? Parks report. Mike.
Okay, I went to Mike Whittam Park and Country Glen Park this weekend. I did take a couple photos. For the most part, Mike Whittam actually looks pretty nice. It's mowed, and I guess probably not getting regular water, so I mean, the grass is short. I had to walk through taller grass a couple of months ago. There were some trees down, which I told Robert about last time, but I'm sure it's not really imperative. They're kind of stuck between some other trees. There was a branch broken off of a tree over by where the little growing area is, the
Community
community
garden.
garden. Yeah, I was just having a loss of words there. And it wasn't small enough to fit in the back of my car, so I was gonna show them the picture of that. Country Glen, just looking at it, you know, it's really a pretty park. It takes nice pictures. We were talking about the sidewalks. First of all, the sidewalk that runs along the side where the street is has had dirt filled into it. It looks like they put in some grass seed that is growing there, so that's been worked on. There's still a little bit of like a 1.5 to 2 inch lip on that, but I don't think we're gonna get rid of that all the way, probably just with settling. And then the part that goes back across where the creek is there, I took a couple pictures. That is still a concern where the blacktop is. And there's a third one there, just trying to pass all those around.
Okay. And when y'all look at these, then I would like these back to give them to Robert.
Okay, I was gonna email them to him, but that'd probably be better to
Yeah.
pass them on to him. And so, other than that, things look good. The kids' play area look good. The picnic tables and the cover look good, so, and that's about it.
Not only on Mike Whittam Park, but Robert spent a lot of money cleaning up the hill on the backside of the Keizer Little League complex.
Okay,
He
good.
spent 3 days there cleaning all those trees out. I mean, it was a mess back there, and it really looks nice.
They did really look pretty clear when I walked back. I walked all the way back behind the house.
Yeah,
there.
they did a good
Where the
job.
hill is, as a matter of fact.
Mike, I was at Country Glen this morning, and I noticed those same broken pavement that you have pictures of. And the broken pavement's caused by tree roots that are lifting that sidewalk up. You know, it's not a sidewalk, it's a pathway. And tree roots are lifting it in many places. There's like a 40-yard section of roots, of pathway that affected by roots.
There is, and there's also quite a big drop off on the one side towards the park side, away from the creek, that has a fairly good 4 inches, you know, if somebody is using a walker, or if they were in a wheelchair, or even a little motorized chair or something like that, they could possibly get over there.
I think those are some of the older paths too, because I don't think they repaved the entire path there at Country Glen.
No,
And so
they didn't.
it's gone in segments, so that's good to know, I think, for Robert.
That's all I had, thanks, Steve.
And these are some of the pathways that were brought up by,
The older paths, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so is there a recommendation on what we're gonna do with those, like as far as dirt on the side, or
Well,
Country
Mr.
Glen?
Sheriff, I mean, at Country Glen, the dirt issue's already been filled in.
Okay,
So those older paths that are along the creek, at some point, those are gonna have to be probably dug up and redone. You can do patches on those things. Part of the challenge is with those roots, see, Country Glen is a very shallow water table, so the roots grow on top and along. So you kind of run into that, do you want to damage the tree or worry about the path and what the proper way to look at that is. So, you know, that's why Robert's as good as what he does, makes the right decisions, so.
I do think some dirt on that back path towards the park side would help with that, some sort of fill there, so there's not such a steep drop off.
It does erode a lot. I mean, I've been out in that park doing a lot of projects and stuff, and I mean, we see erosion like crazy. We've planted trees out there. We've tried to put in native vegetation, and when it gets really, really wet, the Labiche ditch there fills up and it just erodes everything down. So it's tough unless you have really good riprap and, you know, different things to put in there. It is really tough to do bank stabilization in that area. Not impossible, just tough and expensive.
Clay?
Thank you. My two parks are Bear and Willamette Manor. Bear, as most people know, is a pathway with a couple picnic tables. It is very well kept, been thinned out over the years to keep people out of it that aren't supposed to be there on a regular basis. But it looks really, really good. I'm by there probably at least once or twice a week. Willamette Manor, I had the chance to go check out the sport court. I'm involved in pickleball, and on a normal sized tennis court, you can fit up to 4 courts. Typically you have directional issues because they should be facing north and south versus east and west because of sun issues. But so when you do it the way they're supposed to be, then you really only get 2 courts out of it, and that's what is at Willamette Manor. They look really good. And I'm sure they're getting used on a regular basis. I may drive over there this evening and just check it out, since we were told that they're being used every night. So, park looks clean, definitely used, and there was crew there cleaning it up when I was there the other morning. So, looks good.
So there was a scout project down there last weekend. When did you go? They cleaned up one of the shelter area there.
The one on right as you walk in on the left, or different?
There's only one shelter out
Well,
there.
there's the one on the left. Oh, maybe that's a storage shed on the left.
No, just the picnic shelter, I believe, is what they were going to restore.
Okay. I was there. They did this, I want to say maybe last Tuesday.
Oh, they did it this last weekend.
So it looked good. Park looked really good.
Mr. Holland?
Yes, sir. I haven't been by Hidden Creek for a while, so I can't report on that tonight. Keizer Little League I can report on. It's a lot of traffic going on up at the Keizer Little League complex. Every weekend there's tournaments. As a matter of fact, we don't have a tournament for the first time this coming week because we need to take some time off and we need to get caught up on maintenance out there. But every week, major tournaments out there. Mm-hmm. If you go there tonight, just practice, every field's full.
yeah.
Every field's full.
Wow.
So it blows my mind a little. On the tournaments, they do not, as of last week, they do not allow fans to come in. It's just the teams to practice or to play. So we don't even keep the concession stand open anymore because nobody comes up without any fans there. But a lot of activity will continue that way all the way through October, and massive. And sometimes on some of these fields, it's not every field's full tonight. Some of the fields, like the senior field, games start at 4, another one starts at 6:30. Same thing on field 10. There's 2 games, they start early and that. So massive amount of play up there. We're the only ones that actually take care of almost everything here in the valley. Teams from Sprague, West Salem play their games there because they can't get on the high school fields. It's the only field they can get on. So we'll be taking in some pretty good money for the maintenance of that complex and slot fees. So that's one good thing about it. We're going to be able to do some maintenance at the end of the year. I met this week with Chris Epley and Shannon Johnson, and we talked about the parking lot. And he asked me to come back to the Parks Board for a recommendation on that. They have on the schedule to do the parking lot, I think in 2 years. Do you know, Matt? Is it 2 years? I think it's 2 years. And we're trying to see if we can move that up right away. And I think Chris is in favor of that because it is a big problem. The biggest problem we got is elderly people walking on those great big rocks up in the parking lot. What's happened, all the small stuff's gone. It's a dust bowl up there. And I'm kind of worried about the liability. There's other things we need to do, but for the liability of the city and everything, I think that has to be at the price. And I think they'll move that up on the schedule, but they said they need a recommendation from the Parks Board whether to move on this early. And how will we raise the money for it? The city has always said that's their job to do that, but we probably will get some matching funds. We'll probably get, might even come back to the matching grant here for some money. Rotary, a couple other groups will probably help us. Plus Little League, as I just mentioned, they have some money. I got a bid on this stuff 2 years ago, and at that time it was $80,000, and everything's gone up 20% here just in the last year. So it could approach 90 to 100,000 unless we can find some people that will help us like we usually do. So I'd like to have the Parks Board talk about that tonight and see if you can make a recommendation to Chris Epley and to Shannon Johnson, who sat in on that meeting and we talked about it.
We'll take that up under other business.
Okay.
Mr. Lawyer.
Yeah, so Chalmers Jones, continuing to have lots of activity. Last month, actually, my kids and I came down and had a picnic and had a very nice conversation with a couple ladies that have been around for a long time and just really enjoy spending some time in the gazebo there. The splash pad has been open off and on based off of the governor's allowances and whatever else. Just great little park, always lots of activity. Wallace House is just really turning into quite the gem. It's got that nice playground that's been in there for a while now, but as Robert mentioned last month, there's been a bunch of work done on the lower section to do some cutting. I was out there just recently with my kids. There's never a lot of people, but there's always people there during the daytime. I went down there, I drove down there at night as I was going to somebody's house, and I noticed some folks going down towards the bottom part, and they kind of were looking over the edge, and I think they changed their mind and their destination. So that was kind of interesting. It's already deterring whatever behaviors at night that would normally go down there are appearing to be deterred. So that's kind of cool. Just that's pretty much it. Not a lot exciting.
I have a question. I was told the other day there's some kind of excavation going on at Wallace House.
Excavation?
Yes. And there's one at Keizer Rapids also. I was there.
I think that's Jeff's project.
I was wondering if that was the exercise court. It's a rather
yeah.
deep dig out.
Yeah, I think with that 10 by 10 slab, I think they've got to go down, 6 or 8 inches probably.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I knew.
It's at least that.
Is it?
Yes, it's at least a foot or more.
Okay.
I didn't see Wallace House. I saw the one at Keizer Rapids.
Keizer Rapids, it went down far enough that they it looks like they maybe accidentally hit some sort of plumbing or something. And then
they
had
hit
to
their own
replace it.
irrigation pipes.
Yeah, I mean, there was what looked to be brand new irrigation connected to less new irrigation underneath, so I don't know.
When I guess
Like
I
2 days ago, 3 days ago, I don't know. When did
Yeah,
I
it's been a
see the
couple
park
weeks
the other
since I've
day?
been down there, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Well,
It was fixed when I saw it, so that's good.
Well, maybe that's why it was dug up by the water meter too.
Could have been.
I don't know that was for sure. I'm making some assumptions. I don't want anyone to get in trouble because of what I just said.
If they didn't
Dylan
put
Duran
locate
said.
wire there, they may not know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Matt. Now, staff report, and Matt will read the staff report.
So we just got a couple sentences here from Robert. It says additional brush mowing is complete at Wallace House Park. The trip hazard has been taken care of at Country Glen Park. The city brought in 28 yards of soil, conveyor trucked in, and the crew raked the soil and planted new grass seed. As mentioned, the splash fountain is open. It operates Wednesday through Sunday, noon to 7 p.m. on days over 75 degrees. So, yeah. And if you didn't see it, he didn't put it in here, but the Keizer Times released photos of the concept art for the new Claggett Creek playground. And it looks pretty cool. It's kind of a water-themed playground. It's got like this fish thing looking thing and what looks like a river going through on the fall surface. So if you haven't seen it, take a look at the Keizer Times article. It's pretty cool.
So they had another design gathering like they have in the past?
Yeah, no, so, if you recall, Mr. Chair, one of the things that Robert talked about, in order to get it done in the appropriate fiscal year, and to get the design done, to get the engineering done, and to actually get the product built and ready to go in place to have it done in the appropriate fiscal year, unfortunately, the time frame didn't allow that. I think the initial discussion was going to be to try to do some of the public hearings on that. I think, though, if I recall, that if there's anybody that has any significant concern about anything in the park, that Robert will definitely listen to those things. But they've had some conversations about it internally, and the design of the park is generally to reflect kind of the creek and the sort of habitat, make it kind of fun and adventurous for the people to use. So it'll have the fall surface and then the ADA swing. Unfortunately, I don't think that this manufacturer had the ability to do the wheelchair swing. So one of the things I've asked Robert to look into on that is to add another stanchion for the swings. And then maybe on our own, once we can find the ability to put one of those wheelchair swings in, have that added. Or worst case scenario, if we have to delete a swing to add the wheelchair swing in there. I know that's something that people have been really interested in. But we will have the similar ADA sort of strap-in swing like we have at Keizer Rapids Park and now at Meadows.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Other business. Mr. Holland, the Little League Park.
Yes,
You were going to...
parking.
Parking. You wanted a recommendation from us for, do you want to give us some more
Chris wants a
detail?
recommendation what the park's board thinks, and, but I think we're ready to do this. And let me tell you what led to this. First of all, we have a gator out there that we haul elderly people back and forth. But with all the traffic that's there, we can't keep up with that because the tractors also use the gator for other things, dragging and stuff on fields. But we had a lady that fell out there in the parking lot. skinned herself up pretty good. And it made me think, hey, all these other priorities we got, it's not a top priority like the parking lot is. Because it's a liability for the city, it's a liability for the Little League, and it's something that's on the agenda right away. So I asked Chris if there's a way that we can move that up and do it right away. And he understood all that, and he says, bring it up at the Parks Board for a recommendation.
So Mr. Epley wants a recommendation from us to move the paving schedule ahead to when?
I don't know, he didn't say when, he probably will get on.
Just move it up on the list?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about this, Debbie?
No, Robert would be the one that would know more about it than me.
Probably Robert doesn't know either, because I just met with Chris Epley Friday in Shannon. That's when the subject came up. We went through a lot of different things that's going on at the Little League Park. And that's when he said, get a recommendation from the Parks Board.
So I think there's a few paths, and I'm going to put my long-range planning task force hat on here. There's a few paths that were discussed. I think that if the recommendation, if I'm going to think of a recommendation right now, my recommendation would be that we ask staff to look into the possible paths moving forward to get this done. Now, it could be all city funded. It could be partially city funded. We don't know. And so I think what we need to find out probably is by October, because it's not going to happen this fiscal year because we've already set the projects for this fiscal year. But if we want to move it from, next fiscal year or whatever, wherever it's at in the list and try to get it up earlier, I think that's kind of a look at the overall prioritization of projects that we've got and see which ones we want to discuss tabling until such time that more funding becomes available. I think this falls within the general logic of safety and maintenance that I think we originally set the parks fee out to be for. And so it raises that level of concern of urgency. But for me personally, I'm not going to make recommendations, just say, let's move forward without understanding what that path looks like in terms of, is it going to be all funded through the parks fee? Is it going to be a combination of parks fee and SEC because we're increasing capacity and overall use? Just understanding how the money's paying on that, I think, is going to be really important. I don't want to just say, let's move it forward and see how it happens. Does that make sense? Because it could be $90,000. It could be $75,000, depending on how the planning and stuff comes from. But I'd really like to hear from Robert sort of the trickle down effect of the project list and where it makes the most sense. I mean, does moving the picnic shelters at Keizer Rapids another year away, but allowing us to get the safety issue at Keizer Lily makes sense, or whatever, how that shuffles out. But I think we just need to have Robert come back in October and say, this is potentially what this looks like to shift this around, and then have it ready to go for a recommendation in next fiscal year.
So you don't know how much the city is going to chip in on this, how much they're going to need from us, if any?
In the conversation, we're going to have to raise other money. We're bringing in quite a bit of money at the Little League now for these tournaments.
Who's we?
The Keizer Little League.
Okay.
Okay? And so they will have to contribute some of the money for that. I'm going to have to go ask different groups for donations because the city's going to want me to do that. We haven't talked about it because we don't know the exact price. But it's going to be $90,000 probably to get it done. In addition to that, you have to put a drainage system in.
Right.
Because that parking lot is huge and it all dumps down onto the field. And Robert, who's the guy before Robert? Bill Lawyer. No. Rob Kissler. He turned around and did a drawing, and I've got to find that, that picks up all the water from the parking lot, takes it down to field 3, takes it down to field 6, and puts it into the drain right there instead of it all draining right onto the field. So we probably will do that, and Little League probably will pay for that cost ourselves because that's a job that we can do.
Any other discussion?
Can you tell me how would the Little League need to come in here and request for those funds, or because it's a park? So this is where I get really confused and I'm like getting way down in the weeds. So I don't know the context of like how the Little League plays into this and who's responsible, so.
Well, the Little League has control of the facility at the present time.
Okay.
And so they would be the ones that try to put this stuff together to make it happen. But since it's a city park, Chris has said this is their responsibility for the paving of it. And I don't know, he might pay for the whole thing if he could raise the money somewhere. But I think it should be a joint effort by the different people that use it and try to come up with something that keeps the cost down for the city.
Yeah, and as in Little League is, people are going to give that organization grants or donations.
Right.
The
city's not going to get that
they're not going
stuff
to get
for
any of
that.
those opportunities. So that would be awesome to have some of that information gathered before any kind of recommendation from us, I think. And I like the idea of having a list of those priorities of what will affect. So we can make that decision, because you're right, safety is a high priority, but every time that we prioritize something, then something else is affected, and it would be nice to have an idea of what that would look like.
It needs to get done.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
no matter what, I mean, Clint's absolutely right. It is an issue that definitely needs to get done. I think if I'm going to put any kind of recommendation on the table, and my recommendation is that staff needs to come back with what the potential options are for the board to consider in a recommendation of the council, whether that's all city funding, whether that's a combination of city funding and grants and things like that. I'm a little nervous about, the intended partnership, with Keizer Lilly potentially being on the outs as a function of the RFP when that goes out to bid and whoever ends up getting the contract. So there's a lot of moving parts here for me, and so I just want to hear from Robert what the options are. If they can, get somebody to kind of poke in there, and if Clint's right and we say it's $90,000 and that seems like something we can shift a couple projects around, to me that feels like a no-brainer to say, okay, here's a couple of these nice projects, let's set these aside another fiscal year and get this one in as soon as we can in the spring, or probably in the fall, realistically speaking. But I'd like to see what those options are and hear from the staff how the potential options can be brought forward. Personally, I'd rather see the city just say, look, this is something that's been dragged on for 20 years. Let's just get this done. And I think we're in a position to do that now where we haven't been in the past, but that's just my own personal.
I'll get with Robert. Is he out of town right now? Does he get back this week or next week?
He sent out an email. I think he's gone for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. As soon as he gets back, I'll get together with him.
I think it's important though, Clint. I'm glad you brought it up.
I'm worried about the liability.
Any further discussion?
I have a question. Is it a replacement of the pavement, or is it
No, it's
parking?
just, it's bare rock. And
Gravel.
Whoever they put
Boulders.
great big boulders in there, and the boulders were on the base of it, and then all the other stuff on top's disappeared. So all you got now is dirt. It blows everywhere, and you got these great big boulders that people have to walk
A
on.
trip hazard, safety hazard.
Yeah. I suggest you go by to see just how bad it is.
Well, it's 3/4 minus. It just hasn't compacted in a long time.
Yeah.
The stuff that's left over are your
Now,
fines.
The south parking lot, it's all paved. They paved that back several years ago. It's just the parking lot right at the main entrance.
Thank you.
I have a question that's probably not super relevant, but it says it is.
Oh, speak.
I even turned it off and back on again. It's fine. So would this be just specifically addressing the parking lot, and maybe we get to this later, but that's not the only gravel path that might be a risk in the park, right? Because the whole that parking lot runs into a gravel path down the hill and then basically throughout the rest of the park.
Right.
Would you be just trying to address the parking lot in this one go, or that path, which I think is pretty much just as much of a problem for people trying to get down?
It is, but you have to meet ADA
Yeah.
stuff, and you're looking at a couple $100,000 for that,
Yeah.
just to do that. The south parking lot might be a possibility to fix that because we're gonna bring in some real fine rock. And that parking lot is gradual slope, and it would probably meet that code. But I sit and watch all the kids bring in their bags, dragging it across the rocks, just tearing the bottom of their bags all up. It's just incredible. So it's a lot of things to address there, but the big one is the parking lot. And once we do that, we can start looking at what can we do that we can pay for in the rest of the areas.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Yes.
Would concrete be a better source than asphalt?
Concrete's, you're talking 75% more cost. Concrete's extremely expensive.
Is it more durable?
It's more durable, but your ability to patch and work with asphalt over the course of 30 years, even over the course of 30 years, is going to be way less expensive than concrete.
Okay.
Like, way less. And
Yeah.
engineering on concrete is a lot harder to do.
Our problem right now is everything has gone up in price 25% with this culvert deal going on. It's just unbelievable, food and everything. And I might get shocked, and this might even be more than I think right now, more than the 90,000.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention and get back to us with some
I will.
details.
Well,
Thank you.
I think
Yes, ma'am?
the recommendation is, the recommendation I had, I don't think anybody jumped on board with that, is to ask Robert to come back in October and tell us kind of what this looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, if Clint wanted a recommendation out of that, I mean, that's mine, and I don't know if anybody else wants to jump on board with that recommendation, but if we want to kind of get some action on it done, we kind of need to put something in minutes so Debbie can,
So you can make a motion and see who jumps on board with that.
do we need a,
What I have is what you said.
Okay.
I have that you've moved to ask staff to look into potential options for board to consider in a recommendation to council.
so moved.
Second. Jeff, do you second that?
I did.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor of Matt's recommendation?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other new business? Yes, Matt?
I just want to share some good news. And it's good to share good news. As I mentioned earlier, the Keizer Times posted the thing about the Claggett Creek Playground. Out of that came a question about Bob Newton Park. They're talking about the gravel road. Unfortunately, the gravel road in the easement there isn't necessarily part of the park, but I guess they're concerned about some of the gravel and potholes and things like that. Apparently, they noticed that there's already a crack in the tennis court there. And they've been having problems with the water fountain, which I don't think we've actually turned the water fountains on in the city because of COVID.
That could be why there's a problem.
Yeah. So I told the gal I would share it, and I did. Some of those questions I'll probably just ask Robert directly. And then West Keizer Neighborhood Association. So we know West Keizer. We love West Keizer. They're always in here giving us comments and stuff. And I just want to read something that they posted because I thought it was great. You know, looking back on the differences in the relationship that West Keizer's had with this body. It said, "Hey neighbors, have you seen what is going on in our neighborhood parks recently? Tennis courts at Willamette Manor are complete, and there's been a pickleball court striped there also. Wallace House Park is having quite the facelift with tons of brush being cleared out from the lower level. I think you'll be able to walk to the river when it's all done. There's also a piece of outdoor fitness equipment that has multiple stations being installed there, thanks to Jeff Davis and the Keizer Rotary. Jeff was able to secure a matching grant from the Parks Board to have this fitness equipment put in a number of parks in Keizer. Keizer Rapids is also slated to have one installed. We're very fortunate to have citizens like Jeff and organizations that are willing to step up and keep Keizer healthy. West Keizer Neighborhood Association is so fortunate to have so many parks in our area with Sunset. We also have Sunset Park. Have you seen the sunset from there? Beautiful. And of course, we have Keizer Rapids right in our own backyards. When the kids say I'm bored, there's nothing to do. Get on those walking shoes and head out to the park near you." So, I mean, it's just good, you know, thinking back. I mean, even back when Tanya was first on the Parks Board, you know, 6 or 7 years ago to where we're at now, it's just good to kind of think about the good news we're doing and just encourage folks to get out there, check out the splash pad, check out some of the great work that's been done at Carlson Skate Park, Willamette Manor, Wallace House, and Northview. So it's continuing to go on. Hearing that Bear Park's in great condition is awesome. Getting the testimony today about our staff member who's a temp. Our temps really like the work they're doing here. In fact, one of the permanent staff now, Matt, was a reoccurring temp for many years. And he was, I think, the first fresh new hire that we had that has been permanent now for a couple of years. And then our other guys are really awesome. So, and we still see citizens out there, which is kind of cool. I was on my walk the other day, and there was a guy just right there in Meadows on his bicycle with loppers, and he's cutting the brush off the sidewalk because it had started to kind of grow over the sidewalk, and he's just sitting there cutting it all up, and he tossed it over the fence, and good to go. Staff went in there the next day and cleaned it all up. So good stuff. Just like to share good news.
Yes.
Thanks.
Dave, it has been a real change in the last couple of years. Yes, Wayne.
I like other business. It's just an observation I've made at Sunset Park. There used to be a concrete wall there on the south side of that wall.
Yes.
Or south side of that park.
It's gone.
And I've seen that it was being removed.
Yes, so there's an agreement between the city and the owner to give him a 6-foot, I'm not sure if it's an easement or a license, to get to use his garages in the back.
Oh, yeah.
And so the wall came down, and my question as a surveyor is I hope they had the corner referenced off before they dug it up. It's required by law. Yes, I'm all about that. I was right on Robert. It was a little case for him. What do you mean they're going to get 6 foot of our park? But it's an agreement. It sounds like a license because it's just for him.
I've noticed that the other day and was also curious, because it moved in on the fence, and so now with the current fence, you would have to walk over what is, I guess, this neighbor's driveway property.
Well,
I'm just curious, is this his? Is it going to be a public
their
path?
fence and gateway to accommodate that 6 foot.
Okay, so it will be his, won't be like a shared entrance. They're going to move over the
just
entrance?
for him.
Okay, cool.
The former residents acquired that for him.
And I think he's paying all the cost of that too.
Yes, he is.
Would hope so.
You should go check it out. It is kind of like an unusual situation, I think, if you're
Well, they
interested.
haven't gravelled now.
Yeah,
There's no other fence up there yet, though.
yeah.
They're putting the fence up now.
It wasn't when I went by this morning.
Um,
I live by Sunset Park. I go by
Right
there
by
every
there,
day.
And they had the post leaning in the hole and part of the fence was up.
I went by there at 7:30 this morning. They weren't doing a lot of work at the time. So I don't know what the plan of what the gate's going to look like. The former residents had a key to the gate so they could get in the back, but apparently that didn't work for the current owner.
I guess my main concern, just to speak it out loud, is that we had that kayak fence thing out there, and now I'm not will that be shortened so that it still works? Is it going away?
Well, you only need 2 feet.
So
Yeah.
this has been a very long issue with that particular property in the city. I think Robert or Bill Lawyer might be able to answer some of the questions more specifically, but it's a very long issue.
Actually, I asked Robert about it and he deferred to Shannon.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah.
That would make sense.
So I know there was an issue about how the park was dedicated. It was dedicated for the use of the people in that subdivision, and is that to the public? I think I'm getting too deep in the weeds here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
It's one of the nicest parks around.
It's gorgeous.
it's easy to maintain too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other business?
So Debbie, for the Parks meeting, you'll just tell us where to go and when to be there on Monday? Or will we
We
help
will
from Tracy?
start, yes, we'll send out an email, but we'll start because I'll be asking everybody if they want sandwiches. Usually we do that. And we will meet probably at the Gazebo and a half an hour or so before the actual tour. and then everybody can have their sandwich, and then we'll walk down to Carlson Park, and then after that, we'll get in our cars, carpool to the different parks.
Maybe the gazebo will be done by then.
Hopefully. And if we all jump into each other's car, we're gonna have to wear masks in transit then.
I guess if you want to, if you carpool.
I think I'll ride my motorcycle.
Do we get to play
Yes, Dylan.
pickleball at Willamette Manor?
You know what? I will host the tournament, you versus Clay, and I'm gonna put $1,000 on Clay. Just kidding. Clay's like a pickleball. You remember, he came in here, we were watching you.
You'll have to tell me how to play pickleball then.
Like, you could be Andre Agassi and I don't know.
All right,
Wasn't he
Dylan.
tennis, Andre Agassi? I think I got that right.
Dylan,
Yeah.
What was your comment?
I was talking to a neighbor the other day, and I met a new neighbor the other day, and when I was talking to her and told her that I was on the Parks Board, she was interested in, and I don't know enough about it, in our use of pesticides and herbicides in the park, and is in general against use of them. It's probably better to bring it up when Robert's here and just like get an idea of what our use is in the parks and why and what the plans are for it, but I just wanted to bring it up.
you may just email Robert that so he's prepared next
Yeah.
time.
Actually, the environmental folks might know better than Robert.
Well, he's the one that sprays them. Any other? Stand adjourned at 7:07.